Going on, guys? Hope you're having a good one. This is a more or less welcome video just for anybody that's just curious as to what Sales.io is, who we are as a whole. And then I thought, why not better have the man himself, the closer for Sales.io, but just overall actually the coach, Lou Sarmiento, with us. What's going on, brother?
How are you, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. But let's kick start it. Let's start it, right? So first and foremost, Lou, if you want to give an introduction to the people watching as to who you are, and just we'll go from there.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Hope all is well. My name is Lou. I essentially started off as a student here with zero experience, kind of that traditional mentality of wanting to, build freedom, make money online, do all these different things. I'm very similar to probably a lot of you. And funny enough, I just didn't know exactly how I was going to do it or how I was actually going to get there or build the freedom. So to make a super long story short, which I'm sure we'll dive into like the details of it, I ended up really connecting myself with JJ and everybody here, and really started off as a student, spent some of my last dollars to really learn from them and actually apply the things that they were doing because I wanted to be like JJ, all these different guys, Cole Scott. So yeah, I ended up spending my last dollar and was able to quit my 9 to 5 around pretty much not even a year, a couple of months after joining, stuff like that, and live my dream life to an extent. Obviously, there's like all these different goals and stuff, but, travel the world, going to Australia here in November for like a month, just came back from Brazil, took my girlfriend on her dream trip to like Puerto Rico, stuff like that. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I feel like whenever somebody asks you like kind of introduce yourself,
There's so much to unpack.
there's different ways you kind of do it, so I just kind of have fun with it. But yeah, if there's anything specific, man, I guess you're curious about, we could take it from there.
No, absolutely. Let's dive into it. I mean, you said obviously you got your 9 to 5, and then you got into Sales.io, right? World class sales technically in the beginning. Talk about that journey. What was life like around that time, and especially you transitioning into getting, with JJ?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like this is something that's pretty relatable, but I was like I said, more of like that hyper ambitious as like a young guy. So I just knew I always wanted freedom. Since I was super young, I always had this feeling that I was destined for success. And it might sound a little bit corny or all these different things, but I generally felt that way. And I just didn't know how I was going to do it. Um, and yeah, from there, that's really like how I used to feel, I guess, up until high school. I'll go through like these huge cycles of procrastination. So like paying for like a course like Iman Gadzhi's course and like going through it, but just going through modules, not really taking action or doing the outreach and really the important things, and just falling to that cycle. And it got to a point where I really had like a lot of anxiety of really like how I was going to build the success. I was questioning myself, like, why do I feel lazy? Why can't I do the work? Like every single day, I had this thing that was like haunting me in the back of my mind. And it was like this feeling of like me knowing what I had to do, but I just physically wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
So that's something that, like, when you're asking like how I used to feel, I guess before it was that like always knowing that I needed to take action. I just felt like I couldn't. Like I had this huge block that was holding me back from taking action, when in reality, the block was myself. So that's essentially how I felt, and really building, like, wanting to build the future and do all these different things for me, the people around me, and just not really knowing how to do it at all. Yeah.
And it's so funny. It's right. It's like you went through education technically, right?
Yeah.
Iman's course.
Iman God.
And I guarantee you, there's a lot of those kids in there. They're learning so much, but it's the implementation that they're not doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Spot on, bro.
So like, talk to us about JJ then coming into play. Like, how'd you even meet JJ to begin with, especially with that?
Yeah. So JJ was a coach in Iman Gadzhi's program, which, like I said, I joined when I was like 17, not knowing what I was doing. I just had this mentality. It's like, okay, if I invest in myself, whether I get results or not, it's only going to benefit me, right? It's only going to benefit me, right? The $1,000, however much it was, like, it didn't really matter at the end of the day. So I did it. And JJ ended up being a coach inside of there. So he'll be there on those weekly coaching calls and these different things, teaching about sales and stuff like that. And I originally like wanted to start with having my own business as an agency. So I'll just use a sales kind of like as an extra resource. They're kind of cool to tune into, and I'll listen to like what he's talking about, because I'd always hear sales and I would have never imagined that I'd be in any sales position at all. Like I hear sales, I'm like, yeah, fuck no, it's like kind of sleazy car salesman, do all these different things. Like I would have never imagined. But yeah, I ended up reaching out to JJ a lot, which I'm sure a lot of students were, just like kind of get to know him or ask him questions for stuff in the agency. And he'd answer back and forth a bit. And I realized, like I said, like, this is a guy that I genuinely want to be friends with. I feel like we're very like similar in a sense, and somebody I really wanted to learn from. Like I'm sure, like, if you're watching this, you had that feeling where you're like, man, I really want to learn from this person, and all these different things. So I ended up reaching out to him. And it got to a point where he just wouldn't really respond that much because he had a bunch of people reaching out to him, right?
That's a JJ move.
Yeah, he was kind of ghosting. I mean, he had a bunch of students and Imans, kind of asking him all these different questions, but I just had this tenacity. So I'll continue to send him GIFs. Like, you could pull up the messages in our Instagram. I just sent him GIFs day after day after day for like a couple of weeks until he responded. He said, "Hey, I'm starting this actual community. So within here, I'll have my own private coaching calls, which you could hop into for completely free and all these different things." So I ended up being like, heck yes. And yeah, that's essentially how I met JJ. And obviously until now, was able to get really close to him. I was just telling Angel, we were talking about it right now. It's like you create your own reality. It's like I wanted to be, it sounds like preconceived or pre-planned, like I'm doing like strategically to be friends with him, but I chose like, okay, I know what I have to do, I know the people I have to be around, so like forging that for myself. And JJ, funny enough, ended up becoming one of my best friends. And of course, like coach, mentor. Yeah.
What made JJ stand out? What, because there's so many sales people in the space, right?
Yeah.
What really like made you be like, dude, I'm gonna keep on sending gifts no matter what? Like, it takes a year,
Yeah. In reality, I feel like it's like the magnetic personality. And like what I mean by that, it's like so easy to see these videos on YouTube or all these different things where people like, flexing like the Lambos and stuff like this. But with him, it generally felt like he was like a version of myself, right? Like in the future, like he was a friendly guy, looked a little bit similar to me. He was very like super chill, he'd be on these calls making like fucking hoodies and stuff like that. And it didn't sound that crazy, but like in detail, something like I resonate with, right? Like when I achieve these levels of success that I do, like I don't want to, put on like this mask of like, yeah, always like trying to be super professional in these different settings and stuff like that, try to put on this facade to see how I'm perceived. And you could see that with JJ. He never does that. He's like fully authentic. Like he doesn't care who he's with, whether it's like, guys with like millions of followers or guys that make, multiple six figures a month. He's the same exact person. So I feel like that was like a big thing as well. He was like chill. That's like the most real answer.
Flair, bro.
Like I feel like it's easy for me to like kind of make some shit up and be like, yeah, it's like this crazy like deep soul connection like Thai thing, which I'm sure a lot of people would say, but in like the most purest form, I definitely feel like that's what it was.
Yeah, you can sense the realness out of people. Absolutely.
Exactly.
And especially with you, okay, now you're in world-class sales, you're diving into it. Talk about your sales career starting off, like going from meeting JJ, getting placed onto a role. How did that transition look like?
Yeah. So I always say this, and it comes to like the common objections thing that you spoke about as well, right? Because a lot of people before they come in, they're like, oh yeah, I don't know if I'm right for this right now. I'm a beginner or any of these different things. When I started off as a student, I had zero experience in anything. Like literally just a young kid, mushroom haircut, like floppy head, and like just wanted to make money and stuff like that. And I had this mentality. It's like, okay, I need to learn from people who are where I wanted to be and people who've helped other people like me get to where I want to be. Which I think Hermosi says something like that.
Yeah.
So with that, man, ended up spending some of my last dollars to work with JJ as a student, and I was able to land my first role. Very small. It was for like a small fitness influencer, stuff like that. He lives in Miami, which I also do, so I was able to meet up with him in person. And I started off as a DM setter. I didn't care what it was. This was like my first, I guess, shot of making like money and stuff like that. And I ended up making around $500 like my first week. And for me, I was like, holy shit, I finally made some money.
Like you
and
like fire.
The first dollars I've actually made online, which I feel is like a pivotal moment for anybody like breaking into this space. So after that, look at these different roles, ended up working with Andy Elliott and all these different things. I ended up, I had a base salary. So it was like my first time actually seeing like consistent income. So I ended up leaving my 9 to 5. I was making a little bit more over there. Still wasn't like crazy money and stuff like this, but then like ended up setting to closing like bigger deals, like a 58K deal, like popped through and stuff like that. So yeah. And after that, I actually had the opportunity to, a couple months there working with Andy Elliott and stuff like that, had the opportunity of my good friend Jalen here was a part of the team, and he couldn't take a sales call for some reason. He was like, hey Lou, man, I can't take this. Would you be able to take this? And for me, I'm like, always this throughout this entire period, I've always wanted to be a part and like work with JJ and actually build something with him together, rather than just being a student and stuff like that. So Jalen told me that he was a part of the team at the time, and I was like so nervous. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, yeah, fuck it. I believe in this enough. And on that first call, I had no idea how I was going to pitch or do any of these different things. I sold with the pure conviction how JJ actually changed my life.
Yeah.
And I ended up closing that first call without ever closing a deal ever before or like anything like that. 5K. So that was pretty cool. And that was like kind of like my gateway in. I'm like, okay, boom, I closed that deal. And now I've solidified and been able to be a part of this team. Of course, you can make the money online, do all these different things, but really develop internally as a human being. Like I'm sure you guys could even look through it. You can see videos of me when I first started on the coaching calls, even from the way I talk and do all these different things. They've
I've
changed a
seen
ton.
some of them.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
changed a ton. So yeah, that's what it's looked like for me. And now, of course, been blessed enough to travel the world. Some of my best friends like just come here to Orlando, just
Absolutely.
hang out with you guys and Jalen. Like I said, going to Australia this month, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, essentially.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I remember when I was also watching some of JJ's stuff way back in the world class sales
Yeah.
days. I've seen a little bit of his face when he was starting off, and to see where he's at right now, it's just it literally goes to show. And you can literally follow his journey as well, and you'll see everything too. And one of the things with that, right, your journey. Obviously, we understand that JJ, like how you guys kind of got together. How has JJ shaped you into the sales professional you are now, especially from you starting at that $5,000 close deal to where you're at now? Like, how has that transition been of him being that mentor for you?
I love like the lens of it, like through the sales, but I feel it's like we teach this all the time. You could book in this call or do any of these different things to work with us and think at the top of your mind, you just want to make more money, you just want to get better at sales, close more deals, do any of these different things, which of course that's what we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what we help with. That's exactly what we specialize in. But something you might overlook or maybe not want to accept or not realize is that the person you actually become. And it sounds so, dude, sounds so cliche when you hear that you actually just become a different human being. But like when I actually get into like what that means, and when I say you could look back at the clips of me talking before, I just had this one perception of life. And this is like a little bit tough to explain, but I had this one perception and it was really like all I knew, right? It was like kind of like the day-to-day life, go to school, do all these different things, go to work. And I just had this dream of like wanting to make money and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But after talking to JJ, I think the most valuable thing that I've been able to develop due to JJ's help, even like Scott and Cole's help and stuff like this, was the ability to become more aware. And having this awareness, it's like you become aware that everybody perceives life in a different way. And having that pure awareness allows you to connect with more people, allows you to just grow inside, understand why things are happening, understand how to even articulate yourself, do any of these different things that then enhance makes you close more deals, makes you make more money through sales, makes you have the tough conversations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And even me, like we kind of spoke about it yesterday at the mastermind itself. It's like not knowing like where authority comes from, because I thought, okay, like when do you actually start becoming a man? At least for me, is it like something when I reach a certain age, I just become this certain person and stuff like that? It's not. It's from like having it taught to you and really taking the steps and becoming that person. Now I feel like I have been able to get that bridge and like create it within myself from what JJ taught me, which of course has led me to be in the position where I can, take calls, close a bunch of deals and stuff like that, just like travel around and like really just have fun, enjoy my youth. Yeah.
Yeah, and be able to do the same for the other people that do come in.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know? So with that being said, now you are the closer for Sales.io. You've been at it for a good amount of time. For the people that are watching that might not know what it would look like in terms of like how to even onboard or all that stuff, like walk them through that entire process of what would technically happen if they were to, obviously want to get into Sales.io.
Yeah. So obviously you start by booking in the call
Yeah.
and knowing what you're going to jump on is going to be a sales call, right? So having the expectancy of you're going to be on that call and you're going to make a decision. Like whether you work with us or not, you feel aligned or not, that's something we'll go through on the call. You have to have this mentality of like, okay, I'm going to make an investment in myself because I want to break or change out of my current situation, right? Even if your situation doesn't feel that bad, you're just comfortable in all these different things. That's going to be something we actually talk through. And then at the end, if it does make sense, I'm going to give you the price and we are going to potentially get set up. And it sounds like a little bit blunt and stuff like that, but that's the same exact mentality that I had to have when I came in. Like it's so easy to have the scarcity mindset towards your finances and these different things. But when you book in this call, it's exactly what it's going to be to really have a gauge and potentially get set up. And then once you do actually join to become a student here, I feel like what I see the most, because I could walk you through like the intricacies of like, okay, getting onboarded, your onboarding call, they're getting you set up and all these different things. But I could generally feel just from like students I've spoken to right now, why I'm even saying this, like, yeah, you better be ready to get set up on the call. Like this is not going to be something where you have to think about any longer or anything like this and be something you take action on, because I've had the blessing enough to be a student here and see how much it's actually changed my life, and really have that energy transfer from me over to you, who I'm actually talking to, because I just had conversations with almost everybody in this house I've actually closed.
Every single person he's talked to in this house, he's been the one.
And they've been students before, right? And like they at first they weren't students, then they became, and now, you know, at the time, let's say I had to talk them through it. Let's say they were a little bit afraid of any of these different things. I've just had multiple conversations across this entire week, and people thanking me. Thank you for taking my money. Thank you for actually pushing me to actually make an investment in myself, because it genuinely changed my life. Like a guy like Angel, any of these different people, even guys like Simon. You know, I closed Simon, and he was literally that first call that I spoke about. And he was lost. He wasn't really making much money. He was working a job. He didn't like any of these different things. And now he's at the point he's making over 10K a month.
Yeah, some of these people aren't even making anything.
Exactly. And now he's at the point where he's making over 10K a month, stuff like this. And he just moved in nearby, helping his sister get set up with stuff like this. So like that's like why I am so passionate about these conversations and stuff like that, because this will generally really change your life if you actually allow it to, and if you're actually receptive to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's the kind of.
Oh, that's awesome. That's exactly what it is. Because it's like, at the end of the day, like, people will realize, and especially existing sales reps, when they come into this, and I've already had conversations with some of the other guys, it's not even about the sales tactics. It's hardly ever about the sales tactics. It's more about the actual internal shit that the new person you're going to become.
Yeah.
Because that's how it comes down to. So, like, I would say in terms of this, because we'll kind of wrap it up, is like, what would you say is your biggest piece of advice that you received from your sales journey as a whole? It could be like maybe something from JJ, but just in general, like to kind of close off this entire video as a whole.
Best piece of advice I've received.
Yeah.
It's like in general you're saying, or like with sales in specific, or?
Yeah, just in general.
I need to take time. It has to be good.
There's something that you'll be wise on the. You can see it in contacts.
There's a lot of good hidden gems.
Like if you were to see a young Lou that was in the exact same position, right? Just genuinely like that knows he's destined for more, knows he wants more, knows like it doesn't even have to be like somebody starting off, just in general. What would you tell him? Just like you asked that question in the mastermind.
Yeah.
What would be your biggest piece of advice?
I know. But it's like, is he going to allow his people that open for losing on right now? If it doesn't allow us to beat that, I think that's going to be more.
I feel like it's just something that I learned for myself. You have to have this tenacity to be willing to empty your bank account as many times as you need, so you can learn from the right people and actually put yourself in the right room so you can achieve success. Because at the end of the day, what really forged me and actually allowed me to get to this point, which of course is like level one of like everywhere I want to be, it has been spending some of my last dollars to work with people who I aspired to be like. And having that tenacity, like let's say you join something, in the past you don't get the results you want. And then what? You could just let that like
just gonna stop?
Yeah, you let it treat it as a sign like to not continue. The people who get the best results have to be willing to have the tenacity to have and really have that full trust and conviction in themselves that they're gonna make it work no matter what. Like even JJ told me, like this would be probably it. Trust yourself. That's it. Like if you have this ultimate trust in yourself and really know, everything will be okay, regardless what happens. You empty your bank account tomorrow.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine. Like you have to have that trust in yourself that you're going to be able to figure it out and make it work. Although you feel scared, you have anxieties, all of these different things. If you have that in the back of your mind and just trust and have that conviction in yourself, you'll never lose. I feel like that's something that came from JJ that he's like instilled in me. I probably butchered it down a bit, but I'd say that's like a huge part of it for sure. Yeah.
From the GOAT himself, right?
This guy's the GOAT right here. Man.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. And at the end of the day, if you have any questions or if you have more questions, if Lou wants to put his tag in the description, he can. But overall, even if you wanted to book a call, you're still going to have to talk to Lou anyway. So it's going to be inevitable. But That's what we're here for. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and yeah, it's been a pleasure, Lou.
Thank you, man.
Let's do it.